She saw me crying after my dog died and rolled her eyes. Men crying is such an ick. Be a man. It's just a dog. I replied, understood. Then I packed her bags, kicked her out, and donated her designer wardrobe to an animal shelter in my dog's name. When she asked for her Gucci belts back, Bruno died in my arms at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. 11 years old. German Shepherd mix. Best friend I ever had. Got him right after my divorce when I was 24, broke, and living in a studio apartment that barely allowed pets. He slept on my chest that first night because I didn't have money for a dog bed yet. We grew up together. I'm 35 now, got my life together, own a small house, good job as a welder. Bruno got old, hips went bad, then his kidneys. Vet said it was time. I held him while they did it. Drove home alone, sat on the couch where he used to sleep. Cried like I hadn't cried since my mom died. That's when Karen walked in. She'd been my girlfriend for 14 months, moved in 6 months ago. She was 28, worked in retail management, spent most of her money on clothes and brunch. We split rent and utilities 50-50. I paid for the house stuff since it was mine. She paid for her own car, her own credit cards, her own life. That was the deal. I'm not anyone's wallet. She came through the door with shopping bags. 3 of them, designer logos. I didn't look up. Hey babe. She dropped the bags, saw my face. Oh, the dog? I nodded. Couldn't talk yet. Yeah, the vet called me to confirm the appointment time this morning. I figured. She walked past me to the kitchen, started putting away whatever she bought. You want dinner? I'm thinking we order from that Thai place. I wiped my face. I'm not hungry. You should eat something. I'm good. She came back into the living room, looked at me, actually looked annoyed. Babe, you're not gonna be like this all night, are you? Like what? All sad and mopey. It's kind of bringing down the vibe. I stared at her. My dog just died. I know, and that sucks. But like, he was old, you knew it was coming. She sat on the other end of the couch, far from me, pulled out her phone, started scrolling. Maybe we can watch something funny, get your mind off it. I didn't say anything, just watched her scroll through her phone like nothing happened. Like the most important creature in my life didn't just stop existing. She glanced at me, saw I was still crying. Silent tears, but she saw them, and she rolled her eyes. Actually rolled her eyes. Okay, I'm gonna say something and you might not like it, but someone has to. She put her phone down, used her serious voice, the one she used when she was about to say something she thought was profound. Men crying is such an ick. Like, I know you're sad, but this whole sobbing thing, it's not attractive. You need to be a man about this. It's just a dog. The room went quiet. Even the air felt different. Just a dog, I repeated. Yeah, I mean, I get that you're upset, but it's not like a person died. It was a pet. You can get another one. I stood up, walked to the bedroom. She called after me. Where are you going? Don't be dramatic. I grabbed 2 of my old duffel bags from the closet, the big ones I used for camping. Went to her side of the closet, started pulling her clothes off hangers, armfuls at a time, threw them in the bags. She appeared in the doorway. What are you doing? Packing your stuff? Excuse me. I didn't stop, grabbed her shoes, her purse collection. She had 7 purses. Who needs 7 purses? Threw them in. Stop. What the hell is wrong with you? You called my dog just a dog. You told me to be a man. You rolled your eyes at me while I was grieving. I grabbed more clothes. So I'm being a man, I'm making a decision, you're leaving. You can't kick me out. I live here. You live here as my girlfriend. Not anymore. This is my house, my name on the deed. You're not on any paperwork. You're a guest, and guests leave when they overstay their welcome. This is insane. You're having a breakdown. No, I'm having clarity. I moved to the bathroom, started throwing her makeup and skincare products into a bag. She had hundreds of dollars of stuff. Didn't care. All going. You can't do this. Watch me. She followed me around the house as I collected her things. Her laptop. Her books that she never read but bought because they looked good on the shelf. Her decorative pillows that I hated. Her yoga mat that she used twice. Took me 20 minutes. 3 duffel bags and 4 boxes. Put them all by the front door. There, that's everything. What about my stuff in the spare room closet? She asked. You said you'd get the rest tomorrow. So get it then. But don't take your time. She stood there, face red. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem. Your parents live 30 minutes away. You have friends. Figure it out. It's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. Then you better get moving before it gets dark. My clothes, all my designer stuff, you just threw it in bags like garbage. Should have thought about that before you disrespected the most important thing in my life. I opened the front door. Out. No, I'm not leaving. You're being crazy. Tut, I pulled out my phone. I can call the police and have you removed for trespassing, or you can take your stuff and leave with some dignity. Your choice. She grabbed her purse from the pile. You're going to regret this. I doubt it. I mean it. You're making a huge mistake. The mistake was letting you move in when you showed zero empathy for Bruno when he got sick. Should have seen this coming. She stopped at the door. What's that supposed to mean? 2 months ago when his hips started going bad and he couldn't jump on the couch anymore. You said good, now he won't get hair everywhere. 3 weeks ago when he stopped eating and I was up all night with him. You complained I was keeping you awake. Last week when the vet said it was time. You said finally we can get the house deep cleaned. Her face shifted. Realized I'd been keeping score. I tried to ignore it. Tried to think you just weren't a dog person. But today? Today showed me exactly who you are. You're someone who thinks crying is weakness, who thinks love for an animal is stupid, who thinks being a man means shutting down your emotions. I don't want that. I don't want you. She stood in the doorway. If I leave, I'm not coming back. Good. She grabbed 2 of the bags. I'll get the rest this week. Make it soon, or I'll handle it myself. I can't carry all of this. Make 2 trips or call someone to help, but you're not coming back inside this house. She made a sound like a growl, started dragging bags to her car, took her 3 trips. I watched from the doorway, didn't help. When she finished, she stood by her car. You're going to feel like an idiot when you calm down. I'm completely calm. She got in her car, slammed the door, peeled out of the driveway. I went back inside, locked the door, sat back on the couch, cried some more. But this time it felt different, cleaner. Update. 3 days later, I woke up Wednesday to 47 text messages, 23 from Karen, 18 from her best friend Taylor, 6 from her mom. Karen's texts started apologetic. I'm sorry about what I said. I was insensitive. Can we talk? Then they got angry. You embarrassed me, made me pack my stuff like a criminal. Then manipulative. I'm staying on Taylor's couch. Is that what you wanted? To make me homeless? I didn't respond to any of them. Thursday morning, I was making coffee and remembered the spare closet. She'd asked about it Tuesday night, but never came back for it. I went to check. Holy hell. The entire closet was full of her clothes. Not just full, packed. Racks of dresses, shelves of shoes, boxes of handbags. All designer, all expensive. Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton, names I recognize from logos alone. I pulled out my phone, started taking photos. Every item, every label, every price tag she'd left on. Some of these dresses still had tags. $800, $1,200. One coat was $2,400. She worked retail management, made maybe $45,000 a year, split rent with me, paid her bills. Where did this money come from? Then I found it. Hidden behind some shoe boxes was a manila envelope. Credit card statements. She'd been stashing them away, hiding them even from herself. Opened one, $18,000 balance. Opened another, $12,000, another, $9,000. She was $40,000 in credit card debt. For clothes, I sat on the floor of that spare room and laughed. This woman had called Bruno just a dog, had rolled her eyes at me crying, but had spent enough money to buy a decent car on clothes she didn't even wear regularly enough to keep in the main closet. I texted her. First contact since Tuesday. You have until Saturday at noon to collect your belongings from the spare closet. After that, I will dispose of them as abandoned property. Her response came fast. Whatever, I'll get them when I get them. Friday passed. No contact, no show. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. 1 hour past the deadline, nothing. I called the local animal shelter, the one where I'd adopted Bruno 11 years ago. Hey, this is gonna sound weird, but I have a large donation I'd like to make in memory of my dog. Can someone come pick it up today? They were confused but interested. What kind of donation? Designer women's clothes? Lot of it, maybe $50,000 worth retail. You can sell it, auction it, whatever helps the animals. Silence on their end. Then, are you serious? Completely. Can you send someone in the next hour? We'll be there in 30 minutes. They showed up with a truck and 3 volunteers. I showed them the closet. Their eyes went wide. This is all for donation? The woman in charge looked like she might cry. Do you know what this means for our funding? Good. It's in memory of Bruno, German Shepherd mix, 11 years old, best dog ever. We'll put a plaque up, Bruno's Memorial Fund. This is incredible. They loaded everything, every dress, every shoe, every purse, every belt, every scarf. Took them 45 minutes. I signed the donation paperwork. They gave me a receipt for tax purposes. $52,000 estimated value. They left at 12:45 p.m. At 1:15 p.m. Karen pulled into the driveway. I met her at the door. Didn't let her in. Where's my stuff? Donated. What? Your off-season wardrobe, the one in the spare closet. Donated it to the animal shelter. In Bruno's name, they're calling it Bruno's Memorial Fund. Her face went through 5 different expressions. Confusion, disbelief, anger, panic, rage. You donated my clothes. Every piece. That's theft. That's illegal. It's abandoned property. I gave you until Saturday noon to collect it. You said whatever, I'll get them when I get them. You didn't show. It's now 1:15. You're over an hour late. I disposed of abandoned property. It hasn't been long enough. I gave you 3.5 days notice and a specific deadline. You missed it. That's on you. You assumed? You assumed I didn't want $50,000 worth of designer clothes? Oh, you knew the value. Interesting. How'd you afford all that on a retail manager salary? She went quiet. I found the credit card statements, Karen. $40,000 in debt for clothes, and you had the audacity to judge me for crying over my dog. Those statements are private. You left them in my house, in my closet, not private anymore. I want my clothes back. Call the shelter, get them back. Can't. They already logged everything into their inventory system. It's being prepped for their annual charity auction. Should raise a good amount for the animals. Bruno would have loved that. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Tell them you abandoned property in a house you don't own, didn't collect it when asked, and now you want it back after the homeowner legally donated it. See how that goes. She dialed anyway. I waited. She talked to someone. Explained the situation. Her face kept falling as they responded. Finally, she hung up. They said it's a civil matter. Yep, you'd have to sue me. And you'd lose. I gave you written notice via text. Set a clear deadline. You acknowledged it and blew it off. Then showed up over an hour late. I have photos of everything I donated, the text exchange, and the donation receipt. All time-stamped. All legal. My Gucci belts, my Prada bags, my Louis Vuitton luggage. Helping dogs now. Better purpose than sitting in a closet while you cry about men having emotions. I wasn't crying about that. No, you were rolling your eyes about it while I was grieving. That's worse. She started crying. Real tears, not sad tears, angry tears. You're a psycho. I'm a man who loved his dog more than I liked you, and you made me choose. So I chose. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. She got back in her car, sped off again. I went inside, called the shelter back. Hey, just a heads up, the original owner of those clothes might try to reclaim them. Don't let her. She abandoned them. I have documentation. They thanked me. Said they'd already started processing everything and wouldn't return it even if she asked. Perfect. Update 2. The aftermath. The next 3 days were chaos. Karen created a whole social media campaign about me, posted on every platform. My ex stole $50,000 of my belongings and donated them out of spite. This is financial abuse. Her friends flooded the comments with support. Call a lawyer. Press charges. Blast him publicly. But then people started asking questions. Why did you have $50,000 of clothes at your ex's house? Were you living together? Did he actually steal them or did you leave them? Her story kept changing. First it was, he stole them from my apartment. Then it was, I was storing them at his place temporarily. Then it was, we lived together and he kicked me out illegally. People found the inconsistencies, called her out. Which is it? Did he break into your place or did you leave stuff at his place? Then someone found her credit card debt story. She'd posted about it months ago on some financial advice forum, asking how to handle $40,000 in debt from shopping. Someone screenshot it and shared it. So you're in massive debt from designer clothes and you're mad your ex donated the evidence? Her narrative collapsed. She deleted everything. But her mom didn't stop. She called me directly, got my number from Karen. You had no right to donate my daughter's property. Your daughter abandoned property in my house. I had every right. She's in debt because of those clothes. She needed to sell them to pay off her cards. Not my problem. She should have collected them when I told her to. You told her 24 hours. That's not reasonable. I told her to get everything yesterday. She only took what was by the door. She said she'd get the rest later. I decided later was this morning. She missed the window. You're cruel. Your daughter told me to be a man. I was. I made a decision and stuck with it. That's what men do, right? She hung up on me. Then Karen's best friend Taylor called. You know she's broke now, right? She can't pay her credit cards without selling those clothes. Again, not my problem. You ruined her life. She ruined her own life buying clothes she couldn't afford. I just donated them to a good cause. She's talking about suing you. Let her. I have receipts, photos, documentation, donation paperwork. She has debt and bad decisions. You're heartless. No, I loved my dog. She called him just a dog. That's heartless. I'm just fair. The legal threat came 2 days later. Letter from some lawyer, demanding return of property or payment of $52,000. I called my own lawyer, buddy from high school who owed me a favor. He read the letter and laughed. She has no case. You gave her written notice with a specific deadline. She acknowledged it. She missed the deadline by over an hour. You documented everything. Abandoned property laws are clear. Plus, you have the donation paperwork proving you didn't profit from it. She'd lose hard. Should I respond? I'll send a response basically telling him to kick rocks. He did. Never heard from that lawyer again. But Karen didn't stop. She showed up at my work, the shop where I weld, caused a scene in the parking lot. My boss had to come out. You need to leave, he told her. Not until he gives me my stuff back. Ma'am, this is private property. Leave or I'm calling the police. She looked at me. I need that stuff. I need to pay my bills. You need to learn to live within your means. Please, I'm begging you, just give me something. Anything. One bag, one purse. I can sell it and make rent. Go ask your parents. They won't help. They said I made my own mess. Smart people, your parents. She started crying again. Big dramatic sobs. I'm going to lose my apartment. I can't pay my cards. I'm drowning. You were drowning before I donated anything. You were just drowning in designer labels. My boss looked at me. You know her? Ex-girlfriend. She left property at my house. I donated it. Now she wants it back. He nodded. Understood immediately. Ma'am, you need to leave. Now. She left, but not before screaming, you haven't seen the last of me. Update 3. 1 month later. It's been a month. Karen stopped contacting me after her lawyer told her she had no case. According to Taylor, who randomly texted me one night, Karen had to move back in with her parents. She'd lost her job 2 weeks after everything went down. Started missing shifts, showing up late, spending work hours on her phone, dealing with the debt situation. They gave her 2 warnings. She didn't improve. They let her go. Couldn't afford her apartment after missing 2 credit card payments and losing her income. Had to break her lease early. She's working 2 jobs now. Retail management during the day and waitressing at night, trying to pay down the debt. Her parents refused to help, said this is her lesson to learn. The animal shelter sent me photos last week. They held their charity auction. Bruno's Memorial Fund raised $31,000. Every piece sold. Designer clothes go fast at charity auctions apparently, even at steep discounts from retail. They used the money to build a new medical wing. Named it the Bruno Memorial Medical Center. Sent me a photo of the plaque. Had his name and "Good Boy" engraved under it. I cried when I saw it, but different tears this time. I drove to the shelter yesterday, walked through the new wing. State-of-art equipment, examination rooms, surgical suite, all paid for by Karen's designer wardrobe. The director found me. You're Bruno's owner. I was. Because of your donation, we can save hundreds of animals every year. Dogs that would have been put down because we couldn't afford treatment. They'll live because of Bruno. Because of Karen's terrible spending habits. She laughed. Well, yes, but also because you made the choice to donate instead of letting her sell it for her own debt. She made it easy, called my dog just a dog. No such thing as just a dog, exactly. I spent an hour there, met some of the dogs they'd already treated in the new wing. A pit bull with a leg injury, a senior Labrador with kidney issues, a 3-legged mutt who'd been hit by a car. All alive because Karen bought too many Gucci belts. Driving home, I passed a park, saw a guy playing fetch with his German Shepherd. Younger dog, maybe 2 years old. Full energy. I pulled over, watched for a minute. The dog brought the ball back, dropped it at the guy's feet. Looked up at him like he was the center of the universe. That look. I knew that look. Bruno used to look at me like that. I got back in my truck, drove home. The house is quieter now. No clicking of dog nails on hardwood, no snoring from the couch, no wet nose nudging my hand while I watch TV, but it's peaceful. No one rolling their eyes at my emotions. No one calling love weakness. No one telling me to be a man while refusing to be a decent person. Taylor texted me last night. Karen wants me to ask if you feel bad about what you did. I texted back. No. She's struggling. She was struggling before. She was just hiding it under $2,000 coats. You could have let her sell the clothes. I could have, but then Bruno's death would have meant nothing. Now it means something. Hundreds of dogs get to live. Taylor didn't respond after that. This morning, the shelter sent me photos of 3 dogs they'd already saved using the new equipment. A pit bull with a leg injury, a senior Labrador with kidney issues, a 3-legged mutt who'd been hit by a car, all alive because Karen bought too many Gucci belts. I'm getting another dog next month. 7-year-old German Shepherd whose owner died, needs a home. Already bought the orthopedic dog bed. Karen called one last time yesterday. Different number. I answered by accident. Did you see the shelter's newsletter? They put Bruno's name on a whole building. I did. That should have been my money. It was never your money. It was debt. I hate you. You hated Bruno. We're even. She hung up. Bruno was a good boy. Best boy. And now his name lives on in a place that saves lives. Worth it. She scoffed. Only insecure men ask for prenups. I just smiled. But when she tried to file for divorce months later, the judge's first question made her face turn white. The conversation that should have been a red flag the size of a billboard happened over a plate of overpriced pasta. I had just sold my first major software patent, and the money that hit my account was, to put it mildly, life-changing. I'd spent 7 years building my company from a laptop in a spare bedroom into a serious player in the logistics industry. I was 32 years old, and for the first time, I felt genuinely secure. My girlfriend, Isabella, was sitting across from me, already talking about a trip to Greece and a new German car. We'd been together for a year. She was beautiful, charming, and knew how to play the part of the supportive partner to a T. That night, feeling the weight of my new financial reality, I decided it was time to have the talk. With things changing for the company, I started. Choosing my words carefully, my lawyer and my business partners are strongly advising that we get a prenuptial agreement in place before we take the next step. Isabella put down her fork. The charming smile didn't vanish, but it tightened at the edges. A prenup? She asked, her voice dangerously sweet. What on earth for? It's just a standard business practice, I explained calmly. It protects the company. It separates my corporate assets from our personal ones. It's not about us, it's about protecting the business my partners and I have built. She let out a short, sharp laugh. It was a sound that was completely devoid of humor. She looked me dead in the eye, her expression a perfect blend of manufactured hurt and condescension. Only insecure men ask for prenups, she said, the words landing like little darts. It's like you're planning for failure before we even begin. Don't you trust me? Her friends, who were at the table with us, all nodded in solemn agreement. One of them put a comforting hand on her arm, as if I had just mortally wounded her. It was a masterclass in emotional manipulation, a full-court press designed to make me feel like a villain for being prudent. I didn't argue. I didn't get defensive. I just smiled, a calm, easy smile. You're right, I said, picking up my wine glass. It's a conversation we don't need to have. The relief on her face was palpable. She thought she had won. She thought her emotional performance had successfully shut down a difficult conversation and secured her future access to my life's work. She squeezed my hand across the table and said, I knew you'd understand. I did understand. I understood everything perfectly. I understood that she saw my life's work not as something I had built, but as something she was about to acquire. I understood that she saw trust not as a bond between 2 people, but as a key to a vault. I paid the bill, we went home, and life seemingly went back to normal. She believed the topic of a prenup was dead and buried. She had no idea that I had just started a completely different kind of legal process. She had scoffed at a shield. She never even thought to look for the sword. Update 1. It's been 8 months since the prenup incident. For those 8 months, I have been the most perfect, devoted fiancé a woman could ask for. And for those 8 months, I have been meticulously constructing a legal fortress that Isabella has no idea even exists. Thanks for the comments on the first post. A lot of you said to run for the hills. I'm more of a stand my ground and fortify my position kind of guy. After she shut down the prenup conversation, I did exactly what I said I would do. I dropped it. Completely. Instead, about a month later, I proposed. I did it the way she'd always fantasized about, at a scenic overlook with a professional photographer hiding in the bushes. The ring was exactly the one she'd pointed out a dozen times. She cried, she said yes, and the pictures were all over her social media within the hour, captioned with a nauseating quote about soulmates. The wedding planning began immediately, and so did phase 2 of my plan. About a month into the planning, I sat her down for a boring financial talk. "Babe," I said with a slightly tired sigh, "my accountants are driving me crazy. With the company's new valuation, they're insisting we restructure some things for tax and liability purposes before the wedding. It's incredibly dull, but it's something we have to do." She looked interested. The word valuation always got her attention. "They need us to sign something called a marital property agreement," I explained. "It's not a prenup," I added quickly, seeing her eyes narrow. "It's a corporate formality. It just designates the business itself as a separate entity. So if, for example, someone sues the company, our personal assets, our house, our savings, are protected, and vice versa. It's to protect us." I framed the entire thing as a shield to protect our future home and family from the business. It was the exact opposite of a prenup, which she saw as a shield to protect the business from her. "It's a standard operating procedure for owners of private companies," I said, sounding as bored as possible. "Honestly, it's a huge pain. They also said you absolutely have to get your own lawyer to look it over, just to ensure everything is transparent and your interests are represented. It's a legal requirement for the agreement to be valid." This was the masterstroke. By insisting she get her own lawyer, I was not only making the future agreement ironclad, but I was also making myself look like the most fair, transparent partner in the world. Her reaction was exactly what I'd predicted. She was arrogant. She thought she'd already won the war by defeating the prenup. This was just a minor skirmish, a boring piece of paper she had to sign. She hired a lawyer, but she didn't hire a killer corporate attorney. She hired a family friend who mostly handled real estate closings. She wanted the appearance of due diligence without the expense or the hassle. My lawyer, a man who eats corporate sharks for breakfast, drafted the marital property agreement. It was a work of art. It was dense, full of legalese, and looked exactly like the boring corporate document I had described. But buried in the section on asset definition and segregation, it stated in clear, unambiguous terms that the company, all its shares, assets, intellectual property, holding companies, and, this was the crucial part, any and all increase in its value from the date of the signing onward, would be considered my sole and separate property, not subject to division in any potential dissolution of the marriage. I provided her lawyer with a complete and exhaustive disclosure of my finances, every stock, every bank account, every asset, total transparency. Her lawyer, as expected, gave the document a cursory review. He saw the clauses about liability protection, which were standard, and advised her that it seemed like a normal business protection agreement. He completely missed the depth and breadth of the increase in value clause. Isabella signed the document in her lawyer's office, smiling and joking about how silly all this paperwork was. She was so focused on the idea that she had avoided the insult of a prenup that she willingly signed something 1,000 times more restrictive. A prenup would have defined what she'd get in a divorce. This agreement defined what she would never get. We got married 2 months later. It was a lavish affair, funded entirely by me, of course. She looked beautiful. As we stood at the altar, I felt a strange sense of peace. The vows we were taking were a lie. but the document I had in my safe at home was the absolute truth. Update 2. Our first year of marriage was a case study in her true character. With the wedding ring on her finger and the belief that she had secured a 50% stake in my future, Isabella's behavior shifted from charming girlfriend to entitled empress. The change was gradual at first, then accelerated like a car going downhill with no brakes. Her career, which had always been a vaguely defined consulting job, evaporated entirely. Her days were now filled with shopping, spa appointments, and long lunches with her equally unemployed friends. The spending was astronomical. Designer clothes, jewelry, weekly redecorating whims for our house. She treated my credit card like it was a magic wand that never ran out of power. Her attitude towards my work also changed. My cute little hobby was now our asset. She'd refer to the business as our company in conversations with her friends. She started offering unsolicited advice on business strategy, gleaned from articles she'd read in luxury lifestyle magazines. She once suggested we should pivot the company to create a logistics app for the fashion industry, because that's where the real money is. The condescension became a daily occurrence. She'd belittle my long hours, not understanding that those hours were what funded her extravagant lifestyle. "You're always so stressed," she'd say with a sigh. "You should really learn to relax and enjoy the fruits of our labor." Our labor. I'd be coming home from a 14-hour day of closing a multi-million-dollar deal, and she would be complaining that the caterer for her garden party had brought the wrong kind of artisanal cheese. I played the part of the doting, slightly oblivious husband. I never complained about the spending. I listened patiently to her terrible business ideas. I was building a case. Every receipt, every credit card statement, every condescending comment was a piece of evidence. I was documenting her complete lack of contribution to the marriage, other than as a consumer of resources. The first sign that she was planning her exit strategy came about 6 months ago. I came home early one day and overheard her on the phone in our bedroom. Her voice was hushed. "No, he still has no idea. I think another year should be enough. The company just landed that big European contract. The valuation should be at its peak then. My lawyer says we should wait for the maximum possible payout." She was talking to a divorce attorney. She already had one on retainer. She was timing her divorce like a stock trade, waiting for the perfect moment to sell her shares in our marriage. I quietly backed out of the house and went for a long drive. There was no anger, no shock, just a grim sense of satisfaction. My plan had been based on a correct assessment of her character. She was exactly who I thought she was. From that day on, I became even more meticulous. I started keeping a detailed journal. I documented her trips, her spending, her lack of interest in my life or my family. I also made a few strategic moves with my business. I established a new holding company and transferred some of the newer post-marriage patents into it. On paper, this new company looked like a marital asset. I even let her name be on some of the initial incorporation documents as a non-voting board member, a gesture she saw as a massive victory. She thought I was finally integrating her into the business. In reality, I was creating a decoy, a shiny object for her lawyers to chase, while the real value remained protected under the umbrella of the original company, the one covered by our marital property agreement. 2 months ago, she decided the time was right. The company had just been featured in a major business journal, and the article speculated that its value had tripled since our wedding. That was her signal. She did it in the most cliché way possible. I came home to find her sitting in the living room with 2 suitcases at her feet. She had a somber, practiced expression on her face. "I can't do this anymore, Mark," she said, her voice full of fake regret. "We've grown apart. I need to find my own path." I played my part one last time. I feigned shock. I begged. I asked her what I could do to fix things. It was a pathetic performance, and she loved every second of it. She stood up, looking down at me with pity. "It's not your fault," she said, a line so tired it should be retired. "Sometimes love just isn't enough. My lawyer will be in touch with yours." She walked out the door without looking back. She thought she was walking into her new life, a life of independent wealth, built on the back of my hard work. She had no idea she was walking into a legal slaughterhouse. Final update. The end came not with a bang, but with a single, quiet question in a sterile conference room. For the past 2 months, our lawyers have been exchanging paperwork. Her legal team, a high-powered and notoriously aggressive divorce firm, sent over their initial demand. It was a work of fiction. They claimed 50% of everything: the house, the savings, and, most importantly, 50% of my company, including a valuation of its growth since our wedding date. Their number was staggering. They were confident. They saw me as a typical, blindsided husband about to be taken to the cleaners. My lawyer simply responded with a copy of our signed marital property agreement and a request for a preliminary hearing to dismiss their claims regarding the business. Their response was telling. A flurry of confused emails, followed by a demand for an emergency deposition. They were rattled. They had clearly been kept in the dark by Isabella about the document she had so blithely signed. That brings us to last week. We were all gathered in a conference room at a neutral law firm for the deposition. Isabella was there, looking like $1 million in a power suit, a confident smirk on her face. She was flanked by her 2 expensive lawyers. I was there with my attorney, a man who has the calm, predatory stillness of a great white shark. Her lead lawyer started with a long, rambling monologue about Isabella's contributions to the marriage, how her support and social grace were instrumental to the company's success, and how she was entitled to her fair share of the marital enterprise. It was all nonsense, but it was the standard divorce playbook. My lawyer let him finish. He didn't argue. He didn't object. He just sat there, patiently waiting. When the other lawyer was done, my attorney leaned forward and placed a single bound document on the table. It was the marital property agreement. "We believe this document simplifies matters considerably," he said, his voice mild. Isabella's lawyer scoffed. "We're aware of that document. It's a vaguely worded corporate liability shield, likely signed under duress and without full comprehension. We will be challenging its validity." My lawyer just smiled. "On what grounds? Your client had independent legal counsel, whose signature is right here. We have proof of full financial disclosure, which your client and her counsel also signed off on. There was no duress. In fact, my client dropped the subject of a traditional prenup at your client's request, a gesture of good faith." Isabella was starting to look uncomfortable. This was not going according to her script. Then came the moment that the title of this story is all about. But it wasn't a judge. It was the court-appointed mediator who was overseeing the deposition, a retired judge with a reputation for cutting through nonsense. He had been quietly reviewing the document. He finally looked up, peering over his glasses, first at Isabella's lawyer, and then directly at her. He didn't raise his voice. He just asked a simple, quiet question. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, his voice dry as dust, "did you read the part of this agreement that you initialed on every page, specifically Section 4B, the part that explicitly excludes any and all increase in the business's value from the definition of marital property?" The room went completely silent. Isabella's face turned white, a ghostly, chalky white. Her confident smirk vanished, replaced by a slack-jawed expression of pure, uncomprehending horror. Her lawyers started shuffling through their papers, a look of dawning panic on their faces. They had clearly focused on challenging the document as a whole, never bothering to read the fine print that their own client had initialed. She just stared at the mediator, speechless. "Because," he continued, his tone still mild, "it seems very clearly written to me. It says right here that the company and all its growth are considered the separate, non-marital property of your husband. So I'll ask again, did you read it?" She couldn't answer. She just looked at her lawyers, her eyes screaming with panic. The entire foundation of her case, the multi-million-dollar payday she had been planning for over a year, had just been vaporized by a single question about a document she had dismissed as an irrelevant formality. The deposition ended shortly after that. Her legal team was in disarray. The fight went out of them completely. The aftermath was swift. They dropped their claim to the business entirely. They had no choice. What she was entitled to was exactly what the law provided for assets acquired during the marriage, outside of the business. That amounted to 50% of the value of the house that had accrued since our wedding day, and 50% of our joint savings account, which I had kept deliberately modest. After paying her lawyers, she walked away with next to nothing. Certainly not enough to fund the lifestyle she had become accustomed to. She had to move out of the house. I heard she's living in a small, rented apartment, trying to resurrect her consulting career, which no one is buying. Her high-flying friends have predictably vanished. I'm sitting in my study, in my quiet house. The divorce was finalized last week. I'm free. My life's work is secure. She scoffed at the idea of a prenup because she thought she was smarter than me. She thought she could outplay me. She learned the hard way that you should always read the fine print, especially when the person you're trying to scam is the one who wrote the contract.